The story, A Letter to God by G.L. Fuentes, revolves around the idea of having unquestionable belief in something. The story is set in a Latin American country where Lenko, the farmer who is the principal person of the story, writes a letter to God seeking help from Almighty for rain showers to nourish his crop. These soon turned out to be a devastating hailstorm, destroying his crop produce. Although his wishes got fulfilled partially, but on discovering the money was less than his expectations, he is disheartened in the end and questions the honesty and humility of the postmasters who actually helped him with money anonymously in the name of God. Lencho, the farmer, lived on the only house that was there on the top of a hill. The hill was low heighted, from where a river and a cornfield which was ready to harvest were visible. The field belonged to Lencho and he was confident that the harvest would provide for him great profits. The only thing that he awaited was rainfall. In this hope, he spent an entire morning gazing at the sky in the northeast direction from where a drizzle was expected to shower on his field and nourish his corn produce. The man, while looking towards the vast sky, confidently told his wife that they were going to have a rain shower, to which his wife replied by saying that only if everything happens as they hope and expect. The couple's elder children were then working at the field and the younger ones were playing near the house when Lenko's wife called everyone for dinner. It was during that time when drops of rain began to fall, hereby proving the farmer's prediction to be true. The wind was pleasant and the clouds could be seen approaching from the northeast sky. Lenko was very glad and pleasantly went out of the house to take pleasure in feeling the droplets on his body. He refers to the drizzle as coins, large droplets being equivalent to 10 cents and the smaller ones 5 cents. He said so because, according to his intuition, the raindrops would ensure a good crops which would eventually give them a lot of money. On seeing everything go as expected, Lenko gladly looked upon the field and the flowers covered with droplets of rain which seemed as if they were wrapped in a cloth. Unexpectedly, strong winds started blowing, leading to a hailstorm which was exactly opposite what Lenko wanted. Also, the writer refers to these pellets of frozen rain as new silver coins. The innocent boys became playful and went out in the rains to play and collect these hailstones which looked like frozen pearls. As soon as the time passed, Farmer was now becoming extremely worried about the storm and hoped that it could get over quickly, which, to his utmost disappointment, did not. The hailstones covered the entire valley, including the house, garden, hillside, and the cornfield. It made everything look so white that it seemed as if it was covered in salt. This made him extremely regretful. Lenko became stressed, and clouds of disappointment surrounded him as everything went against his plan. The trees had sadly shed their leaves, The corns, which were going to give him money, were smashed, and the flowers had also fallen and got detached from their plants. While standing in the withered fields, he conveyed his dismay and sorrow to his sons by commenting that the effect of the storm proved to be worse than that of the crop destroying insects. All their hard work had gone in vain. He felt helpless as no corn had been left and was extremely fearful that they might have to starve this time. Now, there was something special about this family that even when everything had gone wrong, they still had hope in their hearts. They had faith in their God even after nothing was left. They gave each other support and recalled the saying which assures that no one ever dies of starvation. Lenko, the poor farmer who had lost everything of his in the hailstorm, spent his entire night thinking of the only option left, and that was to seek the help of his Almighty God, who he had been informed has its eyes and ears everywhere. He thought of writing a letter to him conveying his extreme sorrows. Despite spending years and working in the farm, he still knew how to write. He started writing on the Sunday morning and thought of mailing it himself by going to the town. Now, let's see what he had written to God. He communicated his poverty stricken situation and mentioned that he urgently needed 100 pesos to regenerate the crops along with surviving until they are ready to harvest. On the envelope, he wrote to God, then at the post office placed a stamp on the letter. Now, here comes the role of a postman, who was also an employee of the post office and noticed Lenko's letter and showed it to the postmaster. They both felt amused, but the postmaster, fat and friendly, immediately developed a sense of seriousness. He was astounded at the amount of faith Lenko had in God. Now, both the postman and the postmaster were curious about what had the farmer written in the letter, and so, with good intentions, they read the letter and thought of replying to it so as to keep the writer's belief intact. But the writer expected the reply in a different way that could not be fulfilled with the pen, paper, and morals. The farmer had demanded for 100 pesos. The postmaster, along with his colleagues and a few friends who were more than willing to donate for a good cause, collected a lot of money to help the poor farmer Lenko. Even after putting their heart and soul in collection of money to help Lenko financially, they could only collect not more than half of what was required. He then addressed it to Lenko along with the letter. After the lapse of 1 week, that is, next Sunday, Lenko came looking desperately for the reply a bit earlier than expected. The postman handed him the letter, waiting to see him joyful and glad, while the postmaster, feeling satisfied, oversaw it from his office. However, the situation was not what was expected. The farmer was disheartened on seeing that the money was less than what he had asked for. His faith is still undeterred. On being disappointed after finding the money less than his expectation, he started looking for ink and paper to write to God again. While writing, his eyebrows got curled out of the concentration with which he was drafting a new request. On completing, he affixed it with a stamp, and as soon as he dropped it into the mailbox, the postmaster took it out to read it. Lenko complained that he had only received 70 pesos and he is really in need of the remaining 30 pesos. He doubted the integrity and honesty of the post office employees and suggested that the money should not be sent via post because he doubted that the staff at the post office must have stolen the missing amount.